This video was brought to you by Imprint. Now, there's a received wisdom that debates don't actually matter as much as us self-proclaimed politicos like to think. Relatively recent studies have shown that both in the US and the rest of the world, debates don't actually have a significant impact on voter preferences. However, this received wisdom has been put under question recently. Trump's political career was made by debates. Biden was ended by a debate, and it looks like Kamala Harris's waning presidential prospects might have just been rejuvenated by last week's debate, at least according to the most recent post-debate polls. So in this video, we're going to take yet another look at the most recent polls, why they look pretty good for Harris, and why maintaining this newfound momentum won't be easy. So let's start with a bit of context. As we mentioned in the last video, before last week's debate, the polling wasn't looking great for Harris. The day before the debate, Nate Silver's aggregator gave her just a 2.2 point lead nationally, down from 4 points in late August, and his forecast gave her less than a 40% chance of actually winning the Electoral College, down from 55% in late August. In retrospect, this looks like it was in part because, when she was preparing for the debate, Harris had essentially taken herself out of the media cycle for the first time since Biden's withdrawal, and this allowed Trump to dominate the news cycle like he has in the past. Anyway, this is why the debate was so anticipated. It was Harris's opportunity to get back into the media cycle and reverse the slight but consistent decline in her polling. And it seems that is exactly what's happened. A snap poll by CNN in the aftermath of the debate found that 63% of viewers thought that Harris had outperformed Trump in the debate, and her favorability went up 6 points, while Trump's fell by 2. That same poll found that 23% of Trump voters watching said that their support was wavering after the debate, compared to 12% of Harris voters. Harris's victory in the debate has since produced some pretty good polling numbers too. An Ipsos Reuters poll conducted in the 2 days after the debate gave her a 5-point lead among registered voters, while another post-debate Morning Consult poll gave her another 5-point lead among likely voters, compared to 3 points pre-debate. Meanwhile, a Yahoo News YouGov poll also gave Harris a 5-point lead over Trump among registered voters, and YouGov's first MRP poll, carried out in the days before the debate, gave Harris a 3-point lead nationally, but also showed her as the slight favourite to win the Electoral College. For context, MRP, or multi-level regression with post-stratification polls, are widely considered to be more accurate than normal polls, because normal polls basically assume a uniform swing across states, while MRP polls segment voters into fine-grained groups and then map these swings within groups onto demographic changes within constituencies. MRP polls were first used by YouGov in the 2017 UK election, and their impressively accurate predictions in both the 2017 and 2019 elections has apparently encouraged YouGov to try them out in America too. Anyway, this MRP poll used nearly 100,000 respondents across the entirety of the US, and the fact that it had Harris on top before the debate bodes well for the Democrats. You get the idea then. National polling looks pretty good for Harris post-debate, and while these haven't yet shown up on the aggregators, Nate Silver's aggregator for instance still gives Harris barely a 2-point lead nationally, this is largely because aggregators take a bit of time to respond to the new polling, and to a lesser extent because Atlas Intel, a well-reputed pollster, still has Trump ahead post-debate. Nonetheless, Democrats have at least cause for optimism in the post-debate national polling, and the state-level polling also looks pretty good too. The first post-debate poll in Pennsylvania from Suffolk pollsters gave Harris a 3-point lead. For those of you who don't know, this is great news for Harris, because, largely thanks to the fact that Pennsylvania has 19 electoral college votes, whoever wins Pennsylvania will almost definitely win the Electoral College. While Harris could technically win without Pennsylvania, if she wins every other swing state, this is unlikely, and the Rust Belt states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania tend to vote together anyway. And if she lost all three, she'd need Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, which would be a real long shot. To give you a sense of quite how decisive Pennsylvania looks set to be, Nate Silver's forecast currently suggests that whoever wins Pennsylvania has roughly a 90% chance of winning the Electoral College. A handful of state polls in solidly red states have also looked pretty good for Harris too, including one in Alaska, where Trump won by 10 points in 2020, giving him just a 5-point lead post-debate. Now, it's worth stressing that these aren't massive leads, and not every post-debate poll has been bullish for Harris. Atlas Intel gave Trump a 3-point lead nationally, and another Insider Advantage poll gave Trump a 2-point lead in Pennsylvania. Nonetheless, Harris has cause for cautious optimism here, and it's at least true that Democrats are in a better place electorally than they were pre-debate. Whether Harris and co can maintain this momentum will probably depend on whether or not they can stay in the news cycle. As I mentioned in the intro, the data from the last few months suggests that Harris fares well when the media spotlight is on her, as it was in the weeks after Biden's withdrawal. But the polls tend back to Trump when she's AWOL, as she was in the week or two leading up to the debate. This isn't all that straightforward for Harris though, given that she's clearly not too keen on doing too many interviews or appearances with the mainstream media. While there have been some reports that Harris is considering doing more bog-standard press appearances, whatever form her new media strategy takes, this will mean more scrutiny, which will mean that Harris needs to come up with a more polished position on her weakest issues, like the economy and immigration. While Financial Times polling after the debate found that voters now trust Harris on the economy marginally more than Trump, Trump still has a large lead on immigration. And Harris sort of got away with not answering the question on immigration during the debate, because that's when she baited Trump with the line about people leaving his rallies. But the fact that she deployed that line when she did is proof that immigration is her weak spot, and her team knows it. The Biden administration has recently issued a series of executive actions tightening up security on the southern border, and the number of so-called encounters, widely considered a proxy for the total number of immigrants arriving at the US via Mexico, has actually fallen quite significantly. But Harris will still need to be able to answer the question that's been often levied at her by Republicans. Why didn't you do it sooner? Fans of TLDR, like you, care about understanding the world around them. And that's where today's sponsor, Imprint, comes into play. Because if you care about building a life of learning, then Imprint is the app for you. It's a brand new way to learn, built from the ground up. And seriously, unless you've used the app before, you likely haven't experienced anything like this. That's because Imprint is beautifully illustrated and animated, creating a highly visual, bite-sized, and interactive learning experience. It's the perfect antidote to a world where social media tries to keep us mindlessly dopamine scrolling day in, day out. Their library includes courses on topics like psychology, history, philosophy, finance, productivity, and many more, as well as quick reads you can consume in a single sitting. In fact, I've been using the Essential Philosophy, Theories and Thinkers course, and it's been an excellent way to brush up on some knowledge from college that I genuinely thought was lost. And with all of the developments happening these days, from elections to AI to geopolitical tensions, it's been helpful to revisit some of the world's greatest thinkers. So make yourself feel better about your screen time, build a real habit of learning every day, and join the millions of people using Imprint. If you use the link in the description, the first 200 people will get 20% off an annual plan. Plus, they'll know you came from us.